The title of the poem is A Letter to Myself in My Twenties, written by Makena Brandon in 2026. Before examining the poem itself, it is important to consider the significance of its title, because the title serves as the reader's first point of contact with the work and often provides valuable insight into its themes, purpose, and emotional direction. At first glance, the title appears simple and straightforward. However, beneath that simplicity lies a remarkable depth of meaning. The phrase "a letter to myself" immediately establishes the poem as a work of introspection. It suggests that the speaker is not attempting to communicate with society, persuade an audience, or tell a story about another individual. Instead, the speaker turns inward, directing his words toward himself. This decision transforms the poem into a deeply personal act of reflection. Letters traditionally serve as a means of communication between people separated by distance. In this poem, however, the distance is not physical, but psychological and emotional. The speaker is separated from the version of himself he is addressing by experience, growth, mistakes, and new understanding. Although both figures are technically the same person, they represent different stages of a journey. One possesses knowledge that the other lacks. One has lived through experiences that have altered his perspective. One has arrived at realizations that the other has yet to discover. The title, therefore, introduces an interesting dynamic. The poem becomes a conversation across time, a dialogue between past and present versions of the self. Through this dialogue, the speaker gains an opportunity to evaluate his earlier beliefs, question his previous attitudes, and reflect upon the person he once was. The second part of the title, In My Twenties, is equally important. The 20s occupy a unique position in human life. They are often portrayed as a decade of possibility, ambition, exploration, and self-discovery. For many people, this period marks the transition from adolescence into adulthood. It is a time when individuals begin making significant decisions about their careers, relationships, values, and identities. Society frequently presents the 20s as the stage during which a person should begin establishing a clear sense of direction and purpose. Yet reality is often far more complicated. While the 20s may be associated with confidence and independence, they are also frequently marked by uncertainty, mistakes, contradictions, disappointments, and lessons learned through failure. Many individuals enter this stage believing they understand themselves and the world around them, only to discover that genuine wisdom is far more difficult to attain than they initially imagined. By specifically locating the poem within this period of life, Makena Brandon immediately signals that the work will concern itself with questions of growth and self-understanding. The title suggests that the speaker is reflecting upon a stage of life characterized by both confidence and vulnerability, certainty and confusion, aspiration and imperfection. This context becomes essential for understanding the emotional weight of the poem. The speaker is not writing from a position of superiority. He is not presenting himself as someone who has mastered life or achieved complete understanding. Instead, he is examining a version of himself that believed it knew more than it actually did. The poem therefore becomes an exploration of the gap between perception and reality, between the person one imagines oneself to be and the person one truly is. Another important aspect of the title is its tone. The title does not contain anger, accusation, or condemnation. It does not suggest that the speaker intends to punish himself for past mistakes. Instead, it creates the impression of reflection and conversation. The reader anticipates a thoughtful examination rather than a harsh judgment. This expectation proves significant because throughout the poem, the speaker engages in honest self-criticism while maintaining a sincere desire for understanding and growth. The title also raises several questions that encourage the reader to continue. Why does the speaker feel compelled to write to himself? What experiences have led him to this moment of reflection? What lessons has he learned? What mistakes does he regret? And perhaps most importantly, what does he hope to achieve through this act of self-examination? These questions create curiosity and establish the intellectual foundation of the poem. From a literary perspective, the title functions as more than a simple label. It serves as a thematic introduction to the work as a whole. The ideas of memory, identity, growth, regret, and transformation are all implied before the first line of the poem is even read. Every confession, realization, and question that appears later can be traced back to the central concept established by the title itself. As readers, we enter the poem expecting to encounter a personal reflection. What we ultimately discover, however, is something much broader. Although the speaker is discussing his own experiences, the themes explored throughout the poem possess a universal quality. Most individuals can identify moments in their lives when they believed themselves wiser than they truly were. Most people can recall mistakes they now understand differently. Most people have experienced the discomfort of recognizing flaws within themselves that they once ignored or denied. This universality is one of the poem's greatest strengths. What begins as a letter to a single individual gradually becomes a meditation on the human condition itself. The speaker's reflections extend beyond personal experience and touch upon questions that affect people across different cultures, backgrounds, and generations. For this reason, the title deserves careful attention. It establishes the poem's intimate tone, introduces its central themes, and prepares the reader for a journey of self-discovery. More importantly, it reminds us that some of the most significant conversations we have in life are not with other people, but with ourselves. The title, A Letter to Myself in My Twenties, therefore functions as both an introduction and a declaration of purpose. It announces a work concerned with reflection rather than certainty, understanding rather than judgment, and growth rather than perfection. It invites the reader into a deeply personal examination of character, while simultaneously encouraging reflection upon one's own experiences, mistakes, and capacity for change. Only after understanding the significance of the title can we fully appreciate the journey that unfolds throughout the poem itself.